What's going on, everyone? It's Tate, back again. This time I'll be doing a little Photoshop tutorial on what I think are the most useful quick tools in the Photoshop sidebar. I won't be going over all the tools as there are a lot of them, but I will show some basic practical examples of how some of these tools work. So let's get going. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop. I placed this image in to work on and kind of show examples of some of the tools, functions. So the first tool you need to know is the Move tool, which can be found right here. So the Move tool is pretty essential. It basically just takes any object, any image, you can just move it around your screen. So I can just drag this picture and then put it wherever. It works with text boxes with text inside. It works with graphics, really anything you want to move. Along with that is the hand tool, which is down here. The hand tool is a little different. It will kind of pan around your screen. So for example, if you zoom, which is another tool right here. So if you zoom in, then you can use the hand tool to pan around without actually moving any objects on the screen, whether it be the picture or text or anything like that. So the hand tool will just move your window that you see in, while the Move tool will actually move the image. The next tool is the rectangular Marquee tool, rectangular selection tool, whatever you want to call it. So this is just a quick way to select a certain portion of a graphic or an image. In this image, if I only wanted a section of the field and players, I could just select it with this tool, and this will create a selection in a rectangular shape. So this is good for cropping images that you want. So whenever you have a selection, one thing you can do is mask that selection. So just go down here and we can mask that, and then that will just give us that portion that we selected. Along those lines, the Lasso tool does the same kind of selecting, but rather it's a freeform selector, so you can draw whatever path you want to select if it's not a perfect rectangle or something like that. So that'll create a selection. You can do the same thing. You can mask it, you can select the inverse and mask it that way if you want to take something out. So those are the two selection tools. Another one is the quick selection tool, which is this tool right here. By the way, I will be putting up the keyboard commands on the screen for each tool if you want to use them that way as well, the default commands. So the quick selection tool is useful for images that have a very distinct contrast between the color of one image on the graphic versus something else. So for example, it does well with selecting a contrasting feature. So it doesn't do well for images that don't have high resolution, but if I zoomed in, it might do a little bit better. So this is kind of just the whole concept of the quick selection tool. It will try to distinguish what you're trying to select. So that's another way to select images. If it's not rectangular, if you don't want to draw it by hand, you can use the quick selection tool, and you can do whatever you want with that selection. The next tool is the Eyedropper Tool. The Eyedropper Tool, click on any color that you want, and that color will be put in the foreground right here. So if you wanted something dark like that, or if you wanted this red to do something with, that's always a good tool to use. So if you click on the Eyedropper Tool, there's another tool within that, the Ruler Tool. If you're doing some kind of poster, you want it to be really aligned, you can measure the distance between two aspects of your project and orient the graphics so that they're all aligned, which is really important for graphic design. So some good tools to use in conjunction with the selection tools up here would be the brush tool and the paint bucket tool. So these tools are used to change the color of anything you select. So for example, if you wanted to change the jersey colors, you could go in, just make sure you select them with the selection tool, go in with the brush, you could manually, like a paintbrush, you can paint over whatever you want to be a certain color. A quicker way, but only works in certain circumstances, is the paint bucket tool, which is right here. Same concept, except this tool will try to find all the common elements and then color the common elements the same. So for example, if you wanted to change the grass color or something, or if you have a graphic where there's a background that's very contrasted versus everything else, you just want to change that background color, the paint bucket is a good tool to use. Say if we want to change this grass, but only the grass, to all be this green, we could click that green and then click the paint bucket tool on the grass and see how it kind of stops at the borders where the grass stops, and it attempts to color only the item that you clicked on. Paint bucket tool is pretty useful for images that have really high resolution or vectors that are easily distinguishable by the software. Okay, so the next tool I'll be going over is the clone stamp tool. So this tool pretty much clones any object in your image that you want. So for example, in this image, if you wanted to make it seem like the stadium is full, you can make a clone of these fans here and kind of insert them up here. So all you do is hit option of what part of the image you want to recreate. Just click it, so it'll keep a little marker here, and you can just go where you want to fill it in at, and it just clones whatever selection you have. So that's just a rough idea of how the clone stamp tool works. Okay, so the next tool I'll be going over is the pen tool. So this is pretty much a more advanced way of making selections, a more accurate way. So if you wanted, you could zoom in really close to an object and make a really specific path. Just click along the border of the object that you want to mask or select, and you can just use as many or as few dots as you want, and it'll just make a straight line from one to another. And then once you connect them all, you can make a selection from there, just like that. And as before, you can just do whatever you wish with that selection. The final tool I'll be going over is the shape tool. So that is right here below the text. The shape tool, there's multiple shapes you can do. The most useful are usually the rectangle and the ellipse tool. So these will just make a shape of whatever size you want. So you can just click and hold on the screen to make a rectangle shape. It's pretty simple. There's some different features you can add to it. If you want curved edges, you can add curved edges, change the fill, things like that. A cool trick with these is if you want a perfect circle or a perfect square, just hold shift before you click and hold, and that will make a perfect shape. Instead of having like an ellipse or something, holding shift will just make that selection a perfect feature, whether it's a circle or a square. Okay, I think that's all for Photoshop today. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one.